So in this building, we train for the space station. Some of it is daily operations, some of it is actually off-nominal operations, like emergencies. Like in these mock-ups in this building, just yesterday I did a 5-hour emergency simulation with my crewmates, with our full crew complement of 6 people of Expedition 42. And that, of course, is not something that you would call daily operations. That's something that we really don't want to happen, but we train it a lot because emergencies would put us as crew in danger.
Here we go.
HCN 1.2.
The great thing about being trained on emergencies is that it gives you a state of mind. Having the knowledge, having the training can help you in any situation, in any condition, just like it happened to me during my EVA. It was an unexpected emergency that we had not been trained for, but because you have received training that it's all-encompassing, it gives you the state of mind where you look forward to the solution rather than focusing on the problem.
EVAs, extravehicular activities, sound routine enough. But spacewalks, as we know them, are among the most dangerous duties an astronaut must carry out. Preparation and safety-conscious planning are critical.
Behind me, you see a lot of equipment which is related to the airlock operations in case of a spacewalk, so we train this here as well. But there's also another completely different facility, which is the Neutral Buoyancy Lab. That's a huge pool, and in there we train for spacewalks underwater. Neutral
buoyancy training tanks are in place at ESA's Cologne facility and at Star City in Moscow, but JSC has the biggest.
EVA training is fantastic. It's physically difficult. It's one of the most challenging parts of the training, but it's also one of the most realistic. When you're in the pool for 6 hours, you get tired, but at some point you really think you're on the ISS. You look around you, and there's a structure everywhere. Sometimes you even get disoriented because that's what happens in space. It's like a 3D labyrinth of technology. It's a maze of technology.
There is so much going on here because we not only train space station, but robotics, spacewalks. So it's a very complex training system, and it's very exciting to be part of it.
I think one of the hardest parts of the astronaut's job is to retain all this different information over the 2.5-year period from being assigned to actually launching. Yeah, there's an awful lot of information on the Soyuz, on the space station itself, robotic training, EVA training, the list goes on. So to try and retain all that, the way that they do that is just by having refresher training really along our path to launch.
JAXA, Japan's space agency, trains astronauts in the operation of the country's ISS contribution, the Kibo Experiment Module, with its space exposure platform.
Oh, so this is nominal.
I guess it has a very Japanese flavor to it. I mean, the content and the way the content is presenting and delivered is pretty much standardized. But of course, you know, the instructors are Japanese. They have that very polite, very kind Japanese way about them.
In Saint-Hubert, Quebec, the Canadian Space Agency's Mobile Servicing System Operations Complex schools astronauts in using robotic arms on station.
Here's a station at scale, and here's the robotic arm, also at scale. It moves, and we can plan our maneuvers. As you can see, the main challenge is to not hit anything while you're moving this arm, because all you got, really, when you're working, you come here. There's this workstation. You got a couple of camera views to work from. You got your hand controllers to move the arm, and you get the, some computer displays and a bunch of switches here on the left. That's all you got. So you really got to think ahead how you're going to maneuver this arm without crashing into anything, because of course that would be a very bad day on orbit.
Star City near Moscow in Russia was the birthplace of manned spaceflight. It remains a key training center where all ISS-assigned trainee astronauts go through the program.
When you first start in Star City, you immediately feel like you're part of something bigger than just your own personal history, because your personal story, because you see people who've been here since the beginning. There's even supposedly Yuri Gagarin's wife is still living here, even though she's very old, she's still living in the vicinity. So you just cross people in the corridor, and they've known all those guys, and I was just a kid and those guys were already in human spaceflight. So you try to learn as much as you can, you try to do your best for the technical side of the job, and try to interact as much as possible with the people, because they're so experienced that they have a lot to give you.
Expecting the unexpected is a basic training principle, like landing off course after the mission or touching down in the Siberian tundra. As NASA has no manned flight hardware of its own at present, the agency purchases seats on Russia's Soyuz spacecraft. All astronauts must be trained on the Soyuz systems, which poses a problem of its own. Everything is, of course, in Russian.
All the documentation's in Russian in the Soyuz spacecraft, and of course all the conversations in Russian as well, which is the reason for us having all of the Russian lessons during our training.